All right, welcome everybody. We have Scott Peris here from Kitchen Data Systems. How are you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks, man. Absolutely. So why don't you start off with what do you guys do over at Kitchen Data Systems? Give me the rundown.
Yeah, so we're a technology company that is helping restaurants launch virtual brands to drive additional revenue. So right now, the current problem that restaurants are facing is, they have a digital presence. The pandemic has caused restaurants to transition to online ordering, and we're essentially trying to help restaurants by driving additional revenue during off-peak periods. So virtual brands are a great way to do that. And yeah, just super focused on kind of helping restaurants with additional sales.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how long have you what's been your experience? Have you worked in the culinary focus before? Is your experience predominantly in sales? Like where's your experience been?
Yeah, so I have some culinary experience. When I was 18, I worked at Montana's for 6 weeks and was a line cook. I could burn a salad, so it was a short-lived
Yeah.
tenure being a cook, but um, had experience also doing front of house, running a sports bar and restaurant in Calgary, and so
Awesome.
I understood a lot of the problems that back of house and front of house face with regards to digital orders, and cut my teeth working with a software company out of Victoria called Cubo. They're an order aggregation software which consolidated platforms like DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, Skip the Dishes here in Canada into one central application, and then inject those orders into a point of sale system. So the new company that I'm with very much kind of parlayed that industry experience and knowledge, and
Absolutely.
yeah, kind of the new wave of restaurant tech.
Absolutely. And the company's a few years old, correct? I think you remember saying 2021, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. So, functioning through the pandemic, what were some of the maybe business considerations that you guys had to make? I mean, obviously the food and the culinary industry was hit pretty hard throughout that whole period. That's where a lot of these, ordering and mobile ordering, all these apps really took off. Like, what were the kind of business considerations you guys had to make as you moved through that time?
Yeah, so I guess the most applicable to that question would be my experience at Cubo. So when we early March, we were in a conference in Toronto
Mhm.
called Restaurants Canada Show. And then we came back. We were actually supposed to go to New York to meet Square, who's a point of sale partner.
Yep.
And that meeting was canceled. And so came back to Victoria, and very much kind of the first couple of days were what's going on. There was, announcements of shutdowns and lockdowns, and our business probably for Monday, Tuesday was kind of just, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I remember the Wednesday, it was overnight. We tripled in size and demand. It was obviously tough on the world, and the restaurant industry had to completely transition themselves to online and digital ordering. So,
Yeah.
a lot of restaurants were getting on the platforms, were managing multiple tablets, looking for new ways to drive revenue. And so we worked with a lot of virtual kitchens and host kitchens specifically. So you go into an underutilized kitchen with extra capacity and launch virtual brands. So our business very much, took off during this period, and we obviously had a lot of challenges in terms of scaling, onboarding. But really, it was an interesting time, and really felt for restaurant owners during that period.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what were the kind of could you talk to maybe some of the things that you helped your clients, your restaurant owners work and develop throughout the pandemic that they're continuing to do now, either because they're either a better way to do business or it's just more profitable or they found it to be a greater way to give service to their customers. Can you speak on that for a bit?
Yeah, I think the big one was obviously giving them a presence online to begin with. So
For
if
sure, yeah.
you want to look at online ordering like a funnel, so being on as many delivery services, gives you eyeballs. Many users are on multiple apps, so being on not only DoorDash but Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes here in Canada. So kind of walking them through the advantages of being on multiple, having a system to manage multiple, and then coaching them through making sure that they have their own direct ordering. So if someone wanted to place an order from them directly,
Mhm.
they could do so. And then, obviously companies like DoorDash Drive, which can facilitate the last mile logistics piece. So just coaching them through what's available, if orders can be injected into their point of sale, if, they're looking to add a virtual brand or diversify their revenue streams. just kind of going through that, and obviously trying to connect with partners and giving them best practices. So those were some of the things we did during that period.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like you guys are doing a very much so like a you're giving them like a full plethora of knowledge on how to be kind of like I have a lot of experience in marketing and social media. Like a couple things we say is like even if you're not using, all the platforms, you should at least have your profiles and stuff set up so that if you do decide to go into those one day, or if you're cross posting, you're posting one place, you just might as well have it go everywhere at once using, specific software that makes that really easy. It sounds like you guys are doing a similar thing for these restaurant owners, like making sure they're set up properly for like the full scale of online ordering. Is there anything else you guys are doing as well? Like, are you helping them track leads or like bring in more business using these services too, or anything to that effect?
Yeah, so the current company that I'm with now is able to get to market faster because of some of the legwork that's done by these aggregators. So you can
Hmm.
kind of picture them as the highway pavers, because it makes it very easy for virtual brands to now be injected seamlessly into a restaurant's point of sale system, and reducing any operational complexities that they have. It's super important that cooks have consistency, and you're not changing or differentiating how a cook receives the order. So a
Yes,
lot of the work that we do now makes it, very streamlined for a restaurant to not only add additional brands, but make it a unified process, because you don't want to add any complexities with rising food costs. You need to
for
ensure
sure.
that you're providing, a form of standardization. So a lot of the early work from aggregators and point of sale systems to have those orders injected are very favorable in terms of what we're doing right now at Kitch Data to inject orders and make it really easy for restaurants. So our brands are celebrity backed brands, so we have relationships with um, Powerbomb Teas, Demandy's Donuts, and Woo Wings, which is a chicken wing brand by Ric Flair
Mhm.
and his team at Podcast Heat. So it's made it very easy for us to go to a restaurant. We're just on Uber Eats right now. We'll probably open up to additional delivery services. So we just provide them an Uber Eats tablet, but we also get a sense of what point of sale system they're using, what is their tech stack, and then providing them, kind of our recommendations based on path of least resistance, and knowing what aggregators integrate with certain systems. Really just kind of thinking about holistically what's best for the restaurant.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you guys are the perfect kind of middleman for a restaurant looking to get, their ordering part of their business fully set up for like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the problem we're trying to solve for restaurants is how do they get as close to 100% kitchen utilization, during their
Yeah,
operating
for sure.
hours. So you really want to utilize the existing labor that's there. So that's where virtual brands become, quite effective for restaurateurs and restaurant owners. Is
Hmm.
you're utilizing the labor to as near as full capacity as possible. So we utilize existing SKUs, existing items. We have an in-house culinary team, a very renowned
Wow.
farm to table chef Leo, where we're able to kind of use best practices and try and squeeze as much profit out of that restaurant as possible. And virtual brands are a great way to do that. We give the restaurant full control of their pricing. We give them recommendations based on their cost of goods,
Yep.
and then ultimately have a rev share with the restaurant and the brands. So it's a new way for restaurants to diversify their revenue streams and keep up with the demand that consumers are wanting.
For sure. No, that sounds phenomenal. That sounds phenomenal, man. Absolutely. Now, of your time, you said with the past company you're working with as well now, you're definitely in an executive role there. What would you say is one of your biggest learning lessons dealing with the teams, dealing with, your the team members, your employees, your dealing with the clients as well as just the shifting atmosphere? What would you say is one of your biggest lessons over the last few years, kind of going through all this wildness that we've all gone through?
Yeah, that's a good question. Very much you're kind of throwing, spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks early on. So,
Yeah.
there's different maturations of organizations. So when you're first starting, you're trying to get your first, 10 clients, 50 clients, 100 clients, and then, as you scale up to thousands, the process is constantly changing. So just making sure that, you're doing things with the best interest of the restaurant, but also
Mhm.
just, really trying to have authentic conversations with restaurants, trying to do right by them, and ultimately giving them, the best advice possible. So, I've had the opportunity to go from a team of 4, all the way up to 60. And so, we've seen fast growth, and really at the end of the day, it's, process, and, really just trying to do things that add value.
Awesome. I love that. What a great lesson for sure. And Scott, if anybody's a restaurant owner right now and they're checking out your stuff and they really want to get their ordering lined up, what's the best place for people to get in touch with you and talk to you guys about working together?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out our website, kitchdata.com. And then you can also email me directly at scott@kitchdata.com. And then my telephone number is 214-833-7851. If restaurants have any questions about how they can diversify their revenue stream, happy to kind of walk them through that, and provide some ways that they can do so.
Awesome, man. I love it. And the last question for you today, Scott, this one's a little bit of a thinker. What would you say is the most inspiring thing to you today?
Um, yeah, it's a good question. I think, in partnership working with restaurants, you get to build pretty meaningful relationships with a lot of these operators. So,
Mhm.
just taking the time to get to know their story, and ultimately, listen to the pain points and experiences they're having. And technology can, a lot of times make it a lot easier for them to, make their business, more profitable, and easier to use. So I think just having really authentic conversations with your customers, and your partners, makes
Yeah.
for ultimately delivering better product market fit, and making sure that restaurants can be successful.
Awesome, man. I love it. Well, thank you so much for the time today. It's been great, Scott. Great to get to know you. Great to get to know Kitchen Data.
Appreciate your time, Jason. Have a great day.
Cheers.